How's it going, everyone? Greg Scott Bailey here. Welcome to my channel. Let me get a little closer here. A little closer. Thanks for stopping by. This is a real quick topic of discussion I wanted to go ahead and do a video on instead of trying to jump into Twitter and join everybody on I don't know, possibly mistyping or I don't know. I might not even say this articulately. It's kind of off the cuff. It's the third time I've recorded this now, but I'm trying to articulate this correctly. So the topic is Mischief Maker and Twitch integration for 7 Days to Die, fan art, fan films, music covers, things like that. And I'm trying to articulate my thoughts on the whole process there because I continue to see something like this come around, coming from the comic book community, moving over to the gaming community and streaming and content creation. So here's basically the gist of what had happened within, I think, the last 24 hours. A content creator had posted that they had I think a DMCA strike on Twitch while playing the Mischief Maker of 7 Days to Die. Mischief Maker is a mod of 7 Days to Die that somebody created so that much like what the Fun Pimps, the creators, the developers of 7 Days to Die did, is there's an integration to the game where you could spawn in zombies. A chat basically spawns in zombies, spawns in crates, does these helpful or hindering things. I do the Twitch integration on Saturdays. So these are two different programs that are able to add to the game a way of chat being able to participate. But the Twitch integration is the developer's version, and it's built into the game itself. And Mischief Maker is a mod that somebody else had developed based off of the property of 7 Days to Die. I say that I say that the property of 7 Days to Die, the property of the Fun Pimps, because here's really what it comes down to for me, and part of me re-recording this was because new information had come out too. The Fun Pimps had released a statement basically saying that the mod of Mischief Maker does not meet within the requirements. Basically, it violates some of the parameters of modding. Now, what those are, the specifics, I'm sure somebody else is going to have a much more articulate video on it than me. This is merely just me kind of making my verbal commentary and trying to put something up here. But basically, if that mod violates the modding rules that the Fun Pimps had set forth for their video game, then anybody streaming and using that mod may also be within some sort of non-compliance for streaming their game. Is basically a loose understanding for me. So why do I bring up fan art, fan films, musicians doing covers? Well, mostly because from my point of view, I used to be kind of a failed comic book artist, and I say that because I didn't really get anywhere with it. I'm still doing comic book art. Those that know me know that I'm still trying to do the best I can. We got another T-shirt coming out with one of my art designs, probably within a week or two, and we'll see how that goes. So I keep trying, but I struggled, and reason I have history with this is roughly about 2010 to 2016, I tried to do comic book fan art. And basically, you go to comic book conventions and you could sit there and you could sketch characters, Wolverine, Deadpool, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, and try to do these characters to where, people come by and they pay you for it, $50 for like a little 9x10 or something like that. And you sit there and you sketch it and you give it to them. But the moment you start doing prints, now you're merchandising, right? Now merchandising, the Spaceballs fans. Now you're starting to merchandise what you're doing, and you're doing it with other people's properties. And that's where it's like I had such a hard time with it because I tried to feel comfortable with it, and I tried to do some stuff. And the problem with that is I ended up only putting out like 8 or 9 prints, and it wasn't a variety enough for people to be interested in. The characters I did weren't big enough property to sell. Like the most I did was like this Wolverine Deadpool thing I did. It was decent sales, but I didn't make any revenue or earnings. And I only had 2 conventions out of that 5 or 6 years that actually made profit over the cost of me going, over the hotel, the airfare, paying for the table, because you got to pay for the table at these conventions when you're selling stuff, let alone taxes or whatever, right? So I bring that up because that is my equative kind of example of I come from the comic book art community where this is played like roughly loosey goosey with the companies where you can have someone do maybe like 20 or 30 art sale prints at a show of somebody else's character, you know, a Marvel, a DC, a Dark Horse, whatever. And for the most part, the companies aren't worrying about that. But if you start making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of that merchandise, then you start getting the cease and desist orders. Most likely, you're getting noticed because you've got the huge print walls. And I've got colleagues, friends that are doing this, successfully, and you know, and I hope they understand why I'm approaching this topic. But I I know that there could be a time where that can get too big, and boom, cease and desist order comes from Marvel or DC or something like that, right? So here's the thing. It's like and that's another topic about, like, maybe a licensing fee or something like that from artists should be put in place. But that's, again, that's a whole another topic. I'm just using it as an example right here now. Um, with the modding community, I've even used Subquake's Undead Legacy mods, overhaul mod, right? Kane does Darkness Falls, and these are overhaul mods where they change the game completely, right? But these mods are created with the understanding that it's the Fun Pimps property. It is their game, and it's being built off of their game. And while a modder could create these things, put time and effort and hard work into it, they are not owed revenue earning and income because of it. And that again comes back to the artist side of me. Nobody owes me just because I like to draw comic books. Nobody owes me for my artwork. Now, if somebody likes something I've drawn and I've made it for sale, and I say this is $100, and someone says I would like to pay $100, awesome. We have an agreement there. That's a sale in exchange. But at the same time, I think the hard part about a lot of creators in a broad spectrum, programmers for games, digital art creators, content creators, musicians, whatever you do, right? Um, the hard part here is we all would love to do that thing that we love for a living. I would love to stream for a living. I would love to create stuff here on YouTube for a living. I would love to go back to drawing my artwork for a living. I would love that to be the case. But nobody owes me any kind of money for that. No, because I want to create it. That doesn't mean that people owe me enough revenue to support my life and lifestyle, right? So that's the hard part. There is, I very much want to support and encourage people to create, and I want to support and encourage people to come up with things. I'm a very big advocate for creators in general. No matter what you create, that creativity sparks all the things that we enjoy in life, right? All this entertainment that we consume, that gets us through our days, our monotonous days. Somebody created that. But at the same time, if it's somebody else's property, then that's where that's where the hard part there is that you can't necessarily expect the owners of that property to just blanket allow you to do that thing that you're doing. A couple different examples I had of that. The Star Trek Axanar fan film ended up getting, I think, sued by Paramount, the owners of Star Trek, of the Star Trek property, because they were making revenue from their, I think, their Kickstarter, or from whatever they were trying to fundraise for. And I've been pretty loose on that topic. I haven't really talked to a lot of people about how I feel about that until now. And the reason I've been loose on that is because I love the creativity of creating fan films. I love that people could say, like, "Oh, I want to do my version of this Star Trek story, or you've seen the Star Wars fan films, you've seen other fan films out there. But again, the hard part is when that starts making somebody a salary, when they start putting that money in their bank, instead of it going towards, the props, the camera equipment, whatever, and there's all sorts of fine detail contract stuff that the lawyers can get into. It's not up to me to decide. But the point I'm getting at is basically somebody or a group of somebodies wanted to make a fan film of the Star Trek Axanar storyline, and they got in trouble because they were making money off of it. Now, somebody wants to correct me on the details on that, please do. Just post in the comments below. But I'm using it as an example because it's one of those things where, you know, just because we feel we could do it better, we could take a property and make it better, doesn't necessarily mean we have the right to, because, like for revenue earning, because somebody else owns that property. One of the other examples I like to give is Ghostbusters. Everybody knows I love Ghostbusters. I like 92% confident of the entire dialogue. We've done it a couple times on streams. I could do the whole dialogue. The 1984 movie Ghostbusters. When that came out, I believe they had to pay Filmation some sort of fee or whatever for using the title, the name Ghostbusters. Filmation had owned a property of the old TV show that was completely a different thing, sort of. Like there's people catching ghosts or whatever, but it's like these two guys in a gorilla. And again, apologies if I don't remember that correctly. But it was like an old TV show, then it was a cartoon, and then Dan Aykroyd comes up with his Ghostbusters. And so now you have a derivative name that somebody else had used, Ghostbusters. And I think theirs was Ghost Space Busters, and then 1984 Dan Aykroyd's version is Ghostbusters, all one word. And that's why when they went to do the Ghostbusters cartoon off of the movie, the Dan Aykroyd movie, they call it the real Ghostbusters because this other Ghostbusters had a cartoon called Ghostbusters. So there are these situations where I use that as an example because really, when you say Ghostbusters, what do you think of? Well, 99 out of 100 times, maybe even more, maybe 999 out of 1,000. I don't know. But the point being is like you get that many people and you say Ghostbusters, what are they going to think of? They're going to think of 1984, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, and they're going to think about that movie and then the whole franchise that was built off of that, and they're not necessarily going to think about the old TV show with the two guys with the gorilla. So I bring that up because there's a possibility that you say that, okay, well, then Dan Aykroyd had created something that he created it and it was better subjectively, maybe box office earnings and franchise, that you could quantify that and say, okay, well, they've earned more money as a franchise than the other Ghostbusters. Now you could say that is better than that other Ghostbusters, but technically those other folks came up with Ghostbusters first, right? in their own way. So what does that get? Why do I bring that up? Because it's on my mind about all these different things about the gaming modding community. Again, musicians doing cover art, or cover art, cover songs, covering songs. You get some Joe Schmo who sings, Bruce Springsteen's song, and then people want to start paying that person money for it. And well, what's the record label do when they hear that this person's making money off of the cover of Bruce Springsteen's song that the record company and the record label probably owns, or maybe Bruce owns it? I don't know. Yeah. Me and Bruce go way back. I'm gonna call him by his first name. But you know what I mean? It's like that's one of those things where it's just like it gets really rough. And so I just wanted to kind of bring that up today, a couple of those different examples, because for my perception, the hard part here is I want to support creators, and I want to support people that have that creativity, that juice, that flow of creativity, because if we continue to keep putting creative things out there, man, we have all the hardships in the world, but man, if we could take a break for an hour or two with a nice movie, a video game, a comic book, a song, a whole album, and we could then, say, okay, I'm done with that. That problem is still there in life, but you know what? I'm now refreshed and I'm ready to tackle that problem again after having taken a break with this entertainment. I love that idea. I think I heard John Campia say that on his YouTube channel, that you could use these things, these distractions, these entertainment things to just take a break. And creativity sparks that, you could go to an art museum and you could sit there and look at all these different sculptures and paintings and everything like that, and you could walk around and you could just soak it in and just feel like immersively into, like, man, I wonder what this artist was thinking when they did it. I love how this looks. I love how this feels. You could grab a comic book. Man, I like this story. I want to grab the second issue. I want the third issue. You get into it. You grab a novel, and you start reading that writer's book series, TV show, a movie, a video game. All these things, it's entertainment. It is distractions. It's things that we do that make us feel good when we do it. Well, I would hope so. Some of you Overwatch players are, I think you guys are sadists at some point. Y'all just want to hurt, Anyways, so my thoughts on it are, it sucks for people that enjoyed Mischief Maker, that something like that is likely going away, because when you really come down to it, it's something that is possibly earning someone money off of an IP that's not theirs. But in the end, I really do think that if somebody is creative enough to come up with that and work that and create that property, or that variation of somebody's property, if someone's able to do that, then in some way, shape, or form, we've all got to be capable of coming up with our own idea as well, and come up with something as original as we can. And so part of me saying this out loud is not just kind of like to my community, maybe some new folks who've come by. Thanks for stopping by to listen to this. It's not so much about that, but I think some of this is me saying it out loud so I can say it to myself. I've said myself over the years, there are a lot of these things, of these entertainment properties. I would love to see this. I would love to see that. I would love to see them change this or that. But ultimately, it is what it is. They made that movie. They made that TV show. They made this adaptation of a novel that either did or did not work for people. But they made it. And I could sit there till I'm blue in the face telling people, that this sucks. They should have done this differently. Or maybe I could go try to make it myself. And maybe I could see if I could find enough people that eventually I can earn a living, a revenue off of that supports me off of the thing that I created, for the most part, on my own. Because again, we all get influenced, right? We all see, let's say, like a blue car down the street that you're like, you didn't realize that you saw it when you were taking the bus or driving by. And a couple days later, I was like, "Oh, I feel like drawing a blue car. I kind of like this thing." You don't realize in the back of your head that you saw it the other day. There's inspiration like that. You see this guy or gal that just has this really awesome look, and you're like, "Man, I think a character would be really fun with that look." And ultimately, sure, you probably would like to say, "Hey, I hope you don't mind, man. I loved your look, and I incorporated it in this character." Maybe there's a little bit of that loose, you know, inspiration gap moment, where you try to let someone know it's like your thing inspired my thing. But for the most part, most artists, whatever they're into, a lot of people are inspired subconsciously by a great many things in life. But it's when we directly go to a property that is not ours, that's where it becomes hard. And that's where it becomes hard for me to say, it's like I support people that definitely mod and create things for 7 Days to Die, because I love trying things out. But ultimately, I will always still just, I prefer to use the vanilla version. I prefer to use what the developers make, because I could go to them for support, for questions, And obviously if they respond, if I'm the one to respond to, but that possibility is there with the developers, and you sometimes don't know what you're getting with a mod. Asterisk, obviously there are modders out there that are very receptive to their modding community, but I'm talking about in a broad statement. It's like Napster back in the day, right? You could go and you could steal, and it was stealing songs, digital songs. You could take a song from that website, but at the same time, if you had a problem with that file, it didn't work right. You couldn't go to Napster. You couldn't go to the person that file shared and say, "Hey, can you give me a better copy?" And you risked getting viruses when you were downloading that stuff. And ultimately, in the end, it just didn't feel comfortable, anyways. Yeah, I'll put my hand up. I partook. I did that back in the day, but it's like in the end, I stopped doing it because it didn't feel comfortable. As an artist, I had to sit there and say it's like I wouldn't be comfortable with somebody doing that with my creation either. So where's that put me now? I do Twitch integration on Saturdays. Last few Saturdays I've had to cancel because of personal things going on, work, and we got some stuff going on with my family. But I'm still comfortable using the Twitch integration when I can. I'm still trying to do what I can with that, and as long as the fun pimps are continuously comfortable with people streaming their game and obviously making revenue off of streaming, then that's perfectly fine. But if something like Mischief Maker's just not allowed, then it's not allowed. And I've never tried it before, but not gonna try it now. So that is the way it is. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, this is all off the cuff. I'm just trying to piece together like what I would think, what I would say. And I think it's better than me getting on Twitter and trying to jump in on all of the back and forth arguments, stuff like that. Which I don't know, maybe that just ends up making a list of complaints and arguments down in my own chat. But at least at that point, I think at that point I could probably filter through, and I'll try to respond to some things. So let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. Let me know if you want me to follow up on this and do another video after we get some responses. I'm not expecting too much out of it, but I do appreciate your time here. Again, if you're new here, we're trying to build up the YouTube channel, so I'm going to do that usual thing everybody does, right? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell notification if you are wanting to get notified every time I post a new video here on YouTube. And because of everything today, my next episode of Greg Scott Bailey Saves the World is moved to tomorrow, and I'm also going to have a video on my thoughts on Star Trek Strange New Worlds and what I'm calling the Paul Wesley Kirk conundrum. I think that's the final title, and I'll try to have that out tomorrow as well. So thank you again, everybody, for stopping on by. As always, we'll see you on the next adventure. Bye-bye.